In this 4-part series, the India Science team for its show Science for a Self-Reliant India travels across the eastern Himalayas through the states of Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim with the Border Roads Organization looking at how engineers from the BRO are working relentlessly to augment road infrastructure with the latest techniques and materials. From engineering high tonnage bridges in remote border areas to employing scientific methods for slope stabilization.
So where are we? Well, we are inside one of the largest mountain chains of the world, the Himalayas, and we are deep within it. Above me are huge mountains. I am in the middle of the major under construction Sela Tunnel. The Border Roads Organization is using some of the latest techniques to make this into a world-class tunnel. This will be one of the highest, perhaps the highest tunnel, over 13,000 feet. And it is a group of 2 tunnels that they're making. It's part of the BCT.
In this episode, your India Science team has been given exclusive access to the Sela Tunnel construction work and how the BRO is leveraging technology and scientific planning at formidable altitudes at over 13,000 feet. In fact, we are the first channel to travel deep inside the Sela Tunnel and even witness a deafening control blast with an explosive load of over 300 kilograms, nearly a kilometer inside the tunnel. These initiatives are part of Atmanirbhar Bharat and specifically the Bharatmala Pariyojana, under which over 34,000 kilometers of roads are being built to socially and economically empower India.
We are at a spectacular location, and the project that we are covering and showing you from a science and technology point of view is absolutely amazing. It has to do with the Border Roads Organization. It has to do with building roads in some of the most treacherous and difficult conditions, and we are also showing you tunneling. And here tunnels are being made at a height of over 13,000 feet. It is and the scale at which these are being done, they haven't been done earlier. And this is part of a larger project of the Atmanirbhar Bharat projects being undertaken to give accessibility, faster accessibility to some of the most remote parts of India. Atal Tunnel was one such project that has been completed. Now Sela Tunnel is the one that the BRO, the Ministry of Defence and the Army are working to complete.
The Border Roads Organization is a uniformed force with the responsibility of maintaining and upscaling infrastructural development in remote border areas of India. It is a transnational construction organization under the Ministry of Defence, Government of India, and is committed to meeting the strategic requirements of the Indian Armed Forces and augmenting the economic and social development in remote border areas. The officers of the BRO are from the Corps of Engineers, which is one of the oldest arms of the Indian Army, and the dedicated General Reserve Engineering Force or GREF. Our journey begins at the Balipara Chardwar Tawang Road or the BCT, which is the lifeline of West Kameng and Tawang districts of the picturesque state of Arunachal Pradesh. It is also the main road that connects Tawang with the rest of India. Maintaining and building the BCT highway and some 2,000 kilometers of roads and bridges across Arunachal Pradesh and adjoining areas is Project Vartak of the BRO.
Border Roads and Project Vartak especially is taking up road construction right from about 500-600 feet level till about 17,000 feet. So our road, and you can imagine the terrain which is there, is starting from the plains and going to the hilly terrain, then the mountainous terrain, the high altitude and then super high altitude. There are very few takers to develop the roads in forward areas. So BCT is basically a feeder road which is not only strategically important and is basically a road for the army, but it has been basically developed also for the economic purpose. A lot of tourism is dependent on that.
The BCT road serves the operational and logistical requirements of the Indian Army to the border areas with Tibet and China, as well as connectivity for the civilian population. On its way to Tawang, the cultural capital of Arunachal Pradesh, the road passes through steep terrain and high snow-covered passes, including the mesmerizing Sela Pass. To see for ourselves why the Sela Tunnel project is so important, we make our way to the legendary and picturesque Sela Pass. The BCT road winds its way up steep gradients and many hairpin bends. At places, it is barely wide enough for one large vehicle to pass. As one approaches the last few kilometers, the climb becomes steeper and the temperature drops into the minus. The sky is overcast and there is a light but steady snowfall. The road is covered in snow and sleet, making the condition for travel unpredictable. Finally, we arrive at the imposing gateway of the Sela Pass at 13,700 feet. Even in the month of March, the entire landscape around Sela is covered in a thick blanket of snow, while just beyond, the Sela lake is frozen and snowed under. Here, the air is thin and one can feel lightheaded or even sick due to low levels of oxygen. During winters, Sela Pass sometimes remains closed for 7 to 8 days after heavy snowfall. The long-standing demand of the Indian Army and the local administration for all-weather connectivity to Tawang and border areas was prioritized by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and a detailed geotechnical assessment of the proposed tunnel area was carried out by the Geological Survey of India in August 2017. The foundation stone of the Sela Tunnel was laid by the Prime Minister on 9th February 2019 and construction commenced on 1st April with the first blast taking place at Tunnel 2 on 31st October 2019. When complete, the distance to Tawang will be shorter by 12 kilometers or 1 hour of travel time. Importantly, the Sela Tunnel project with its new alignment will provide safer all-weather connectivity to Tawang and the border areas. To learn more about the Sela Tunnel project, we travel to the new alignment using a temporary unpaved road to reach the entrance of the first tunnel, or the South Portal, where excavation work started on 15 January 2021. The first blast was initiated in the presence and leadership of Director General Border Roads Organization, Lieutenant General Rajiv Chaudhary, who is personally monitoring the project and work on the BCT highway so that the Sela Tunnel project can be dedicated to the nation in 2022 on the occasion of the 75th year of India's independence. A priority project of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh.
We are at the south entrance of the tunnel which is being constructed to Sela, and this is the Bisakhi area. It is initial days of the construction of this tunnel. It's about 20 meters that they have dug through, and with me is Colonel Mehra, who's going to tell us a little bit about this construction, the tunnels that are being made that will considerably shorten the time as well as the distance to the Sela side, towards the Tawang side. So it's of strategic importance as well as the convenience for tourists and the civilian population that stays here. Colonel Mehra, tell us about this project of the Border Roads Organization of the Ministry of Defence, and why is it so special, and what are some of the scientific and the technological techniques that you are using to build this tunnel?
You know, firstly, on this road which is connecting Tawang, which is the BCT road that we are constructing, Sela Pass was one of the most formidable obstacles. It's the month of March and you can see the amount of snow around. Right from December to February, it becomes very difficult for the convoys to cross over from Sela because there is a lot of snowfall there. Hence, it was required that we do an alignment which doesn't have so much of snow, and what better than a tunnel. So what we are doing right now here is that we are doing two tunnels. One tunnel which is right behind us, we started this on 15th of January this year on Army Day, and we have another tunnel which is on the other side. This tunnel is about 970 meters and the other tunnel is 1555 meters. The other tunnel, we've already touched the 1000-meter mark because we started that work earlier. And we are working at an altitude of 13,000 feet. When you work at that altitude, we do not have any electricity here. We have to do it with captive power of generators. There is an effect of altitude on the men and on the machinery.
The alignment of both tunnels and roads has therefore been planned below the snow line, where the snow clearance will be easier and will enable all-weather passage of vehicles. The Sela Tunnel project comprises of two main tunnels. Tunnel 1, which will be 980 meters long when completed, is located at 3,910 meters on the Baisakhi side or south of the Sela Pass. While Tunnel 2 will be 1,555 meters long with a parallel egress or emergency tunnel at a height of 3,973 meters. The exit of Tunnel 2 is near Nuranang in Tawang Valley at an altitude of 3,973 meters. The tunnels will be interconnected by new roads and bridges. Excavating and building tunnels in high altitude areas of the Himalayas is a time-consuming and difficult process, requiring a high degree of planning and engineering skills. Geologically, the Himalayas are one of the youngest mountain ranges in the world and indeed the highest. There is continuous dynamic movement of the earth as the region falls into a subduction zone. Subduction is a geological process that takes place at convergent boundaries of tectonic plates, where one plate moves under another and is forced to sink due to high gravitational energy into the Earth's mantle. One serious consequence of plate tectonic forces is a deadly domino effect. Essentially, the tremendous stress that builds up within the Earth's crust is periodically relieved by earthquakes along numerous faults that scar the Himalayan landscape. This constant movement of the mountains requires modern and innovative techniques of geological surveys, excavation and construction when it comes to high altitude tunneling. Planning and engineering transportation tunnel design and construction requires the team responsible to accept the underlying uncertainty associated with subsurface conditions that can be characterized by geological analysis but never fully known. When the contractors from Patel Engineering and the BRO were mobilized for excavation of the longer tunnel or Tunnel 2, they realized that the parent rock under the proposed portal area was poor and unstable for construction. BRO engineers discussed the issue at length, and after brainstorming, it was decided to completely change the alignment. Keeping these dynamics in perspective, the team of the Sela Tunnel project decided to use the observational technique of construction.
Now, to be able to do tunneling in such a strata, we need to do something that we call the observational technique, wherein we keep measuring the deformations that are happening in these tunnels and we design the supports accordingly. We put the supports according to how the rock behaves. So we have support systems in terms of rock bolts, sprayed concreting, lattice girders, sometimes very huge I-beams, depending on what kind of strata that we encounter. So it's a very dynamic process of design and execution. It needs all our stakeholders, our contractors, our authority engineers, and even the client to know the business well to be able to take these decisions every day on site. Only then will we be able to cut through these mountains. And as I said, the altitude of 13,000 feet is a formidable altitude. This is the highest tunnel being built in the country and probably one of the highest ever in the world.
The longer tunnel, or Tunnel 2 of the Sela project, which is 1,555 meters long, is a double tube tunnel with a main tube and an escape tube, which is mandatory for tunnels over 1,500 meters long. The main tube tunnel is 11 meters wide with overhead clearance of 5.5 meters. The escape tube is 7.26 meters wide with an overhead clearance of 4 meters, being constructed 20 meters parallel to the main tunnel itself. These tunnels have been designed to carry 3,000 petrol vehicles and 2,000 diesel trucks per day with a maximum speed of 80 kilometers an hour. The Sela Tunnel project is a state-of-the-art project employing electromechanical systems including jet fan ventilation systems, firefighting devices, CIE norm-based lighting and SCADA-controlled monitoring systems. Some of the key safety features of the tunnel include tunnel entry barriers at both portals, telephone connection at 200 meters for emergency communication, fire hydrant mechanisms at every 50 meters, auto incident detection system with CCTV cameras at 200 meter intervals, 5 cross passages each at every 250 meters, air quality monitoring at every 1 kilometer, evacuation lighting and exit signs at 25 meters, broadcasting system throughout the tunnel, fire rated dampeners at every 50 meters. Before work on the tunnel can start, a portal or entrance has to be secured. At the south portal of the Sela Tunnel entrance, the mountain face is immense, and with it comes the probability of landslides and rock debris blocking the entrance. A reinforcement system using concrete, rock bolts and other materials is first used to secure it. But to get an in-depth understanding of the techniques and challenges of tunnel construction, we travel to Tunnel 2 on the north side of the Sela Pass. The temperature here is below -6 degrees Celsius.
We have entered from this place called Nuranang, crossed the river and come towards the Tunnel 2 of the project. Between Tunnel 1 and Tunnel 2, we have 4 kilometers of tunneling in the project, and we've already touched the 2-kilometer mark. And we are working relentlessly through the worst conditions. As you can see, it's been snowing since the morning, but both these tunnels inside are working. After this, we go inside and we'll take on the activities there.
The new Austrian tunneling method, or NATM, is being used for the Sela Tunnel project. This method of modern tunnel design and construction employs sophisticated monitoring to optimize various wall reinforcement techniques based on the type of rock encountered as tunneling progresses, rather than reinforcing the entire tunnel. This technique first gained attention in the 1960s based on the work of Ladislaus von Rapsivik, Leopold Müller and Franz Pascher between 1957 and 1965 in Austria. The Sela tunnels are being excavated through solid rock. The engineering team is using the drilling and blasting technique. The process involves drilling the rock face and then placing explosives within the cavities. The depth at which the explosives are packed is precise and based on geological analysis of the rock strata.
This tunnel is being constructed by drilling and blast method using NATM philosophy, and presently we are doing the drilling as well as loading. So we are using almost 300 kg of explosive here and doing a drilling for 2.5 to 3 meter. We are doing here the control blasting. So after the loading activity is completed, the blasting will be carried out, and again the mucking activity will be started, and the surveying and ventilation, all things will be carried out, and the cycle will be repeated.
Some 300 kilograms of explosives are first packed into the drilled rock face. These are connected with a series of delay detonators numbering 1 to 10 based on reducing intensity of the explosive charge, 1 being the maximum intensity and 10 with the least. The delay detonators are electronically detonated, reducing the explosive damage in the surrounding parent rock and giving a smooth blast finish on the tunnel's periphery. With each blast, the tunnel makes a progress of 2.5 meters to 3 meters. After the blast, the landmass around the tunnel cavity has to be supported. A tunnel is a form of a sphere, and when spheres are excavated, the landmass around it starts caving in to fill the vacuum. To calculate the placement of support structures, Sela engineers are using reflex or reflective targets which are bolted at intervals on the excavated surface of the tunnel.
These reflectors, these are the 3D reflex targets. We are constructing this tunnel by new Austrian tunneling method, which basically says design as we go. As we excavate the tunnel, it converges inside from all sides, from all the 3 directions, the X, Y, Z directions. And so these reflectors or the reflex targets are used to monitor those convergences, and based on those convergences, we design the support for the tunnel.
This engineering method uses geological stress from the natural ground around a tunneling site to build a tunnel securely and safely. Rock formations respond to stress differently under different conditions. Once the stress loads and convergence points have been calculated, the tunnel is secured and strengthened.
There are supports called rock bolts and shotcrete, which are used to keep the tunnel in shape in which it is supposed to be. That's so that it does not cave in, it does not converge. Rock bolts are big iron rods. As a layman, if I say, they are iron rods which are put inside the sides and the top of the tunnel, so that any big wedges, the rocks which are supposed to come down, they go through them to the intact rock which is not disturbed, and so they provide support to the rocks which can fall.
Interestingly, the entire alignment of the Sela tunnels is located under lake formations, and hence the tunnel is being catered with drainage, geotextile and waterproofing membrane throughout its length. The tunnels even have special concreting material due to variation in daily and annual temperatures.
What you see right now on top is just the plain shotcrete or plain concrete, which has been sprayed, and rock bolts, which is the primary support. After this comes in the waterproofing membrane, and then the final lining, the final concrete shell, which will give the final look to the tunnel. Once the shell is in place, we will also do a concrete pavement which will have drains on both sides, so that any water which is inside the tunnel, because of the traffic moving the tunnel, goes into those side drains. The water coming from the surrounding rock will stay behind the waterproofing membrane and go into the drain system below the footpath. So as we progress, we will soon, in another 1.5 months, have these concrete elements come in, and the final shell of the tunnel will start.
By leveraging the latest scientific and engineering techniques, the progress of the Sela Tunnel project has been rapid. Once completed, the Sela tunnels will be the world's longest bi-lane tunnels at an altitude above 13,000 feet. The project will go down in the annals of history as one of the most difficult projects executed in the nation. Importantly, these tunnels will fulfill a long-standing requirement for all-weather connectivity to Tawang and to India's strategic border areas. In our next episode, our journey through Arunachal Pradesh continues. So keep watching Science for a Self-Reliant India only on India Science.